Hello, everyone. I'm James Milan. Welcome to this town hall update, where I am joined for another couple of times by our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine. Hello, Adam.
Hey James, good to see you.
You too. You too. It's been a month. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, a ton, as usual, has happened in that time. There have been organizational changes within Town Hall that we'll talk about. There's the completion of the new wing of the Arlington High School, that housing performance and STEAM, and a very popular, I think, opening to the public this past weekend. We'll get to that as well. But first, I'd like to start with the Select Board recently endorsing a revised ARPA framework. And just to remind folks, something they probably don't need to be reminded of, ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, which freed up or which designated $35 million thereabouts for Arlington, and which we have been, you guys have been figuring out how to disperse ever since. So, what are the changes that the select board has just voted to make to the framework, and why?
So I think we may have talked about this at least loosely over, some of our interviews over the past couple of weeks, but I'll restate that early on when ARPA first passed, our analysis showed that we wouldn't be able to use any ARPA funds for general fund revenue loss offsetting. There had been hope that we would be able to utilize ARPA funds to help the town's general fund because we did lose some revenue over the course of the pandemic. But the way the regulations were first spelled out, it didn't appear that we were going to be able. So we had put together that framework last fall under the assumption that we might be able to use $3 million for revenue loss and then programmed the rest of the funds accordingly. However, when the final regulations came out, it allowed communities like Arlington, based on our population size and the amount of revenue that we received from ARPA, that we could use up to $10 million of our ARPA allocation for offsetting revenue loss without having to prove that we even lost that much in revenue. So early on, the select board, myself, the finance committee, we've always been in lockstep that we wanted to utilize ARPA to benefit those in the community, but also to help the town as an organization and a government as much as possible. So we revised the ARPA framework to have $10 million for revenue loss. So we had to find $7 million from the remainder of the framework to be able to get up to that $10 million amount. So we revised numerous line items within the framework, moved that revenue loss up to $10 million. And unfortunately, the two biggest areas were where we had to take the bulk of the funds from. And those two big areas were water and sewer investment, as well as affordable housing. Now, we're still able to maintain over a $3 million investment in water and sewer, and I believe still an over a $5 million investment in affordable housing. So we're still making significant investments in those areas, but we're prioritizing putting money towards the general fund and thereby offsetting the cost of a future operating override. So there's a direct benefit to the Arlington taxpayer based on these changes that were proposed and adopted by the select board. I'd further add that at that same meeting where they adopted those changes, they finalized funding for FoodLink and Arlington Eats to address food security. They finalized funding for the Arlington Housing Authority to help them with a weatherization project, replacing all the windows at Menotomy Manor, as well as helping them buy a van to be able to bring residents for grocery store trips as well as medical visits, and funding to provide a resident support services staff position to help those living at the Arlington Housing Authority. And then finally, they approved funding for the Arlington Chamber of Commerce for them to be able to really beef up a more robust set of programming to help small businesses in Arlington recover from the pandemic. So again, we didn't really revel in cutting the water and sewer investment or affordable housing, but I think overall these revisions really benefit the town and continue to provide help, resources, and support to those in the community that are most in need coming out of the pandemic.
And you're certainly right. As you spoke, I remember that we have been talking about these things and these changes, over these recent weeks and months. And so, thanks for that comprehensive and perhaps final description of what's going on there. Moving on, I had mentioned a little earlier that, well, there may be a few Rip Van Winkles out there who are unaware of the fact that there is a massive high school rebuild going on right here in town. But of course, everybody is very aware of that fact. And a real, major milestone was reached back in February when students went into the new STEAM and performance wing of the brand new building. And then just this past weekend, I know that the doors were opened for tours, self-guided or otherwise, for the public. And my understanding is that there was a significant popular response to that. But why don't you tell us about how that event went?
Absolutely. So, as you said, very exciting project. The STEAM wing and the auditorium and the performing arts wing have been opened. I mean, absolutely beautiful buildings, and you can see it from Mass Ave, and when you walk in, you can see it. But due to the good work of the Arlington High School Building Committee and the Communications Subcommittee, and Amy Spear and Kirstie Allison Ampey, who lead that subcommittee, my understanding is I don't know who is doing the clicker, but my understanding is nearly 3,000 people came in over the weekend and were able to tour those two new wings. And reports back were that it was almost universally loved. There were no bad reports shared back with the high school building committee on Tuesday evening. So I think we're halfway there, sort of, and maybe a little less than halfway there. But
Hmm.
so far, it seems like the vision is being met, and the building is on time and on budget. So there's a lot of work still to happen, right? To maintain being on time, on budget, and to meet that vision. But so far, I think we can all collectively be proud of what's being provided to the Arlington community and Arlington students in particular.
Absolutely. And another thing already mentioned, but some wise person in the past said the only constant is change. So be it, right? That includes at town hall. There are comings and goings to talk about. So please let us know.
So I'll start with the Cummings, and that is Dana Mann, who actually has been a town employee for a number of years now in the assessor's office, has been promoted to the director of assessments position. Paul Tierney, I think we may have talked about this in the past update, left several months ago after a number of years serving as director of assessments to take a similar position for the town of Burlington. And after a search process, we had who we were looking for right in the assessors department with Dana Mann. So he was serving in an interim capacity. He's now been permanently promoted to the role, and he's been an asset to the town, that department, and the team within that department. And I have every confidence he's going to continue to be an asset and perform well in that role. So we've welcomed him, and I would encourage anybody who sees Dana or has an opportunity to interact with him to welcome him officially to the role. And then in terms of the goings, as we've reported out this week, Director of Planning and Community Development, Jenny Raitt, has accepted the position as the Executive Director of the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, which is a regional planning agency based in Lowell. And she will be sorely missed by the town, certainly by me. But I also think it's an incredible and exciting opportunity for her to bring her skills and abilities and experience to that Lowell area and to that agency, and to help that region as they plan for transportation, economic development, and other environmental protection type matters. So we will dramatically miss her. I think the term I used in my note to department heads was that she's produced a prodigious amount of plans in her 6 years here. And I think it's true. From the fair housing plan to the housing production plan to the net zero action plan to Connect Arlington, which is the sustainable transportation plan, and probably other plans I'm not mentioning. She's really set a roadmap that has already had action taken upon it for Arlington to continue to provide a higher and higher quality of life to all those living here. So she will be missed, and I certainly wish her the very best in her next endeavor.
Yeah, well said in terms of just how prolifically productive the department has been under Jenny's watch. Because we at ACMi, of course, do DPCD updates with Jenny regularly. We're very well aware of just how far along some of the plans you mentioned already are, but also just how many different things are going on, and that she has stayed on top of and directed with great adroitness. So, needless to say, going to be sorely missed for sure. Speaking of which, I mean, it's kind of bittersweet congratulations that we have for you and Jenny, who, before taking your respective departures, uh, did recently receive a well-deserved recognition, which was the Open Door Champion Award that was given to you guys by the Citizens Housing and Planning Association, or CHAPA, and specifically for the creation of the Fair Housing Action Plan that you were just mentioning. So wonderful, and like I said, undoubtedly well deserved. What do you think?
Well, I mean, thank you for raising that. We were able to receive that award virtually last week and share with a couple hundred people who are on the Zoom call about the work in Arlington to create a fair housing action plan. And like I said, that I'll say now that the thanks does go to Jenny and her team for producing the plan. I'm honored to be part of it, and I hope the role I play and that I've played has been to be an enabler and an uplifter and someone that's always willing to say yes when the planning department wants to put these efforts forward, and then someone that continues to try to push the dialogue at various boards, committees, commissions, or a town meeting, so that these are topics that we talk about, we care about, and then we try to advance policy to make improvements based on the plan. And then ultimately, I would say, it's just, I'm trying to choose my words carefully as to not tear up, but I think housing and a home is about dignity, and efforts that we take to try to enhance the opportunity for people to have a stable home and thereby achieve dignity it's just super important work, and it's important work to me. And I'm failing in my ability to not tear up here, but I'm just, it was an honor. And, and I hope it's, a stepping stone or a leverage point for the dialogue to continue in Arlington, so that we can always be thinking about how we can play a role in the region in providing housing opportunities and opportunities for people to build a home in Arlington and achieve dignity and a quality of life.
Well, I have to say those tears are a quite an eloquent reflection of the commitment that you and Jenny bring to this issue, and many others that relate to justice and equity and quality of life around here. So, we will be making our farewells to you guys over the next weeks, and so you'll hear more of this. But on behalf of many people here in Arlington, we congratulate the two of you. We know that you earned that award and distinction, very much so. She heads a sprawling department and does it very well. But then you're on top of everything there, Adam. So kudos to both of you, and great work, and enjoy the recognition.
Thank you.
Okay, we're about to close, but have we missed mentioning anything?
I don't think so, other than I'll say, this is not public health advice, really anecdotal advice, that the virus seems to be everywhere. And, I'm just, I can't even count on two hands how many people I know in my sphere who have recently had it or have COVID right now. So be careful out there, right? I don't have any direct advice about masking or unmasking or what to do, but be careful out there. As you've said many times, we might be done with the virus, but it's not done with us. So please be careful and stay well.
Amen. Well, with those wise words from our town manager, still our town manager, Adam Chapdelaine, for this town hall update, I'm James Mann. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank Adam for his time and you for yours. We'll see you next time.